Juliet Naked, which I'm going to review like this, rather than I'm going to review... Exactly, fine. Why is it called Juliet Naked? So, you remember the Beatles album, Let It Be?
Yes.
Let It Be Naked. Do you remember that?
Oh, okay. And then, there was a version that came out many
Precisely
years later.
so. Okay, so Nick Hornby, Chris O'Dowd is the classic kind of, Nick Hornby anti-hero, Duncan, who is obsessively dedicated to this obscure rock star called Tucker Crowe, about whose most famous work, which is an album called Juliet, which was apparently written about his girlfriend, who I think is called Julie or Julia. He writes and moderates this blog. Rose Byrne is Annie, who is Duncan's long-suffering girlfriend, who frankly does never wants to hear anything else about Tucker Crowe, doesn't care about the blog. So yeah, fine, that's your obsession. I'm not that interested. The Duncan has got this little shrine in which everything on the wall is posters, and he runs this online blog in which he discusses what all the songs means and blah, 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 blah. One day, Annie is at home and she intercepts a parcel that's been sent to Duncan that she opens, and it's Juliet Naked. It's a version of Juliet in the demo form, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But he's out. So she thinks, oh, well, I'll give it a listen, and she puts it on, and she thinks it just sounds like boring demo versions of his songs. He is utterly outraged that A, she has listened to it before him, and B, that she doesn't think it's any good. They then have a row, and she then goes on his blog, and he writes a review on the blog, oh, it's a masterpiece. And she then goes on the blog and puts his comment, which says it's a bunch of boring demos. And she then gets a response from somebody saying, yes, you're absolutely right. And the somebody she gets a response from is, of course, Tucker Crowe, who has been missing in action for the last 20 years. Next thing, he says, I'm coming to London. Why don't we meet up? She says, how can we do that? They arrange to meet. Next thing, he's in hospital, and she meets him in hospital. That's a lot of exposition. Here's a clip.
This is, much easier in writing.
Well, I would say that we could take out our phones, and write each other, but the internet here is terrible.
I've got you,
See, I knew I shouldn't have said that.
It's nothing, honestly.
No,
not at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's about a transatlantic epistolary friendship. Not to put too fine a point on it.
I think I saw this movie.
It's not nearly as good as the memoir. But
No,
obviously,
I like the movie.
no pressure to read it, of course.
No, pressure's a choice, right? Thank you.
How are you feeling? How do you feel?
I had an angioplasty.
Wow, what's an angioplasty?
They stick balloons into you and blow them up.
Wow. Balloons? That sounds pretty crazy.
Jackson, this is Annie.
Okay.
Hi, Annie.
Nice to meet you, Jackson.
Nice to meet you, too.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Just need to change your catheter, Mr. Crowe.
Where does that go?
Should we get a snack?
Yeah,
while
that'd
we
be
do
great.
this? Yeah,
Thank
why don't
you.
we go for a
Thank
little
you.
walk? Okay, we'll be back.
Okay, so Rose Byrne, Ethan Hawke, and young kid who's talking to a woman called Annie, okay? So the setup, obviously you start thinking about Sleepless in Seattle, which is always a very dangerous thing because I love Sleepless in Seattle.
Great film.
My favourite scene in Sleepless in Seattle when he marches him over to the map. Remember that? He marches him over to the map and he pulls the map down from the wall and he explains how many states there are. Do you remember this? Have we done this before and you never remember it?
No, I don't remember that scene.
Okay, fine. Anyway, so...
Watch it again.
Any film which reminds me of Sleepless in Seattle is in dangerous water because I immediately start thinking this isn't Sleepless in Seattle. But you know what? I thought this was really funny and really charming. One of the things it does is it takes that it's like if you imagine High Fidelity. You know, you've read High Fidelity, okay?
I've read it and I've seen the film.
Yeah, fine. Which are very different beasts, incidentally, the book and the film, but both are very, very good. Well, in High Fidelity, the whole thing, it centres on the central character, Rob, and he's completely obsessive about music. And and at the beginning, he's talking about the girlfriends that he's previously broken up with and how, he's doing lists of them. And the one he's just broken up with hasn't made his top 5 lists of breakups. This is almost like seeing that story from the other side, from the point of view of being one of the girls who has had to tolerate Rob and his intolerable obsessions with music and seeing it from the other side. I thought that Ethan Hawke was really good as this, somebody who had once made a really brilliant album and then subsequently decided that wasn't what he was going to do anymore because his life had fallen apart. And he makes a very convincing embodiment of a kind of former rock poet who has now decided that he has to shape up and, get his life. But he's living with the chaos of a life in which he's had many relationships. He's had many children, some of whom he disavows, some of whom he doesn't, all of whom don't appear to know about each other. And into this comes Annie, whose main experiences of him is that her annoying boyfriend has been obsessed with this guy, throughout their relationship. And that's how she knows about him. And I thought it was funny and I thought it was charming. I think that the characters fit very well into this weird sort of British seaside town milieu. When you consider how contrived the plot is, that it's a great triumph of the film that while you're watching it, you don't think, oh, that's a ridiculous contrivance. You think, oh, that's quite funny. That the only person reading the blog who thought that her review saying that this record is a load of old pants is actually Tucker Crowe himself. I laughed all the way through. I mean, past the 6 laughs test, absolutely no trouble at all. I knew very, very little about it before, other than the title and the cast and the fact that the Nick Hornby connection. And I thought it was really charming and really funny, and I really, really enjoyed it.